Do it live. I said, do it live.
Once again, we are back in the place to be. Three dudes in and around a record store on
the record store in our mind.
Whatever you want to call it. It's metaphorical at this point. I am Greg Horn, your host as always. This daily music television, sitting at home, doing, I don't know what, maybe prepping for our next list for our next episode is the Metal Maniac.
Sporting this hot Xanadu shirt.
That's right.
That's what you're doing.
My love of the Xanadu. And next to me is the man, the myth, the legend, B.
What's up?
Emperor of Esoteric. What's up, Holmes?
Man, it's been a short week.
Hella short.
We were here last.
Hella short, right?
But
life
on.
Gets crazy, and then we kind of shift and do some stuff and figure it out.
Been doing my thing and thinking about the topic for today.
Yeah, short, brief interlude before we hop into it. I want to give a shout out to a young dude. I got a call a couple of days ago that end of a show, her son has been diagnosed with leukemia, and found out today that it is the version that is 90% treatable and beatable. So, young Q, my man, just know that the dude behind you, just because you didn't attend St. Bernard's doesn't mean you are not part of the Crusader family. So we got your back, young Holmes. You're going to get through this and go on to smash your life and maybe be on an episode 3 Dudes one day.
Nice.
You have that look forward to.
Big up.
Yeah.
Get rid of this. Get rid of that stuff.
Yeah, still in high school, getting ready to go on about his life, maybe become a musician, and then he can be on a list that we make someday.
Heck yeah.
Speaking of lists, why don't you go ahead and tell them what today's topic is?
Well, we decided to keep it short and sweet. It's the greatest MCs or rappers of all time. Our top picks.
Oh, yeah. We
had another topic in mind.
We did. I don't even remember what it was now.
Songs we never want to hear again.
Oh, yeah. Man, we didn't want to hear them so much we didn't want to talk about them.
That'll be coming down the road. But Greg threw out, what about we just do top MCs? And I was like, that's...
Yeah, we were going to get to it eventually. Yeah. As we are, when I broke my list down, I tried my very hardest to not include people who are part of a group, because inevitably down the road we'll get into greatest hip-hop groups of all time.
Man, I might have just...
You might have tipped your hand of who those are going to be. See, I keep mine.
I was going to say I might have just doo-dooed on your...
No, that's why it was in my head. I decided to do that.
I subconsciously defied you, as I like to do sometimes.
I'll explain more when I get into Jay's list, because he's got someone... he wasn't going to be on my list, but someone from that group is going to be on my list, and I didn't know how you could take that person out without the his dynamic is in the 3. How do you remove him? Whereas maybe people from other groups, you could do that, or they might have had solo careers. You can say he was a part of this group, but look at all his solo stuff, and then you can be like, all right,
yeah.
But it creates friction. Friction creates good.
We're gonna have to see how this shakes down. See how the cookie crumbles.
I don't need to go into a history lesson of how this all started. Started in what, Queens?
The Bronx.
In New York. It started on the East Coast, where whatever the borough it was.
Yeah.
But I am a West Coast kid. I love the West Coast. I don't plan on ever living outside of the West Coast, so it'll come to no surprise that most of my list is all West Coast rappers.
You're letting the cat out of the bag. already.
Maybe a little bit.
All right.
I mean, not all, but
Yeah.
most.
Yeah, because you're smart enough to know you got to pay some.
Oh, you gotta
Some homage to the East Coast.
You got to pay
Maybe
some
even
homage
some,
to the East Coast.
Maybe even some South Coast.
A friend of the show and my main guy I ride mountain bikes with. I told him my list, and he was like, "Really? Like over this dude and over this dude?" And I was like, "Yep, that's the way it is. How it's gonna be." He's like, "All right."
Well, this guy's nothing if not staunch about his opinions. So.
I am highly controversial. I am contrarian, and typically I'm just an asshole. So we'll see. We'll see how it
Touché,
goes.
my friend.
We'll see how it goes. I can't be that bad. I mean, shit, we've known each other since what?
Yeah, man.
5th grade,
Shit.
6th grade.
You're a good kind of asshole.
Yeah, I'm the asshole you want to be your friend, because I'll be an asshole to everyone you hate.
I've seen it in action.
Yeah, no, it happens. Yeah. All right. So as I said, I tried to stay away from pulling members out of a group.
Yeah.
Of which I will explain more when. But
so we're gonna start with your.
We'll start with my honorable mentions. Yeah, let's break down. My bad.
We'll
break down.
Drop Jay's list
for those new to the show. How we work this is we go through our entire honorable mentions list. I go first. The man gets the last word. And we read off Jay's list. And then 5 to 1, 1 to 5, we count down. The greatest MC in the history of hip hop. The history that's still being written. And I decided to throw in just one new name. The other ones I kind of left off. They might make it into 5 things that we'll get to later.
Yeah.
For now, so the first 2 I don't have visual representation because I haven't found any of their stuff in the wild. My first honorable mention, East Coast fella by the name of Kool Mo D. He was big in the late 70s to the early 90s. Debuted as a member of the legendary Treacherous 3. Big name in battle rap history. He was amazing at it. And he is considered a forerunner of the New Jack Swing movement of the 90s.
That's kind of what was interesting about Kool Mo D is he was literally and legitimately a founder of MCing. The rap aspect of hip-hop music. As part of Treacherous 3, he's one of the most old school rappers.
Yeah, very in the old school style.
But then blew up after
Wild West.
after rap started to get a little more commercial.
Get a little play on the
MTV. Found his style as a solo artist, and you're right. He carried over into that New Jack era. Maybe a precursor.
I did enjoy the New Jack era. I liked some of that stuff. It was a lot of fun.
But yeah, I guess tracks like I Go to Work, How You Like Me Now.
How You Like Me Now.
Those are kind of precursors to the New Jack Swing era.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Another East Coast cat who I ranked slightly higher. We might be neck and neck. Again, I don't have anything to show you. Big Daddy Kane.
Yep.
Can't leave out the Kane. So he got his name. I'm not going to tell you how all these guys got their name, but he got his name. Big Daddy came from a Vincent Price movie.
Okay.
And then Kane with a K, variation on Kwai Chang Kane from Kung Fu.
Not cocaine, not Citizen Kane.
Nope.
Interesting.
Kwai Chang Kane. He just came to your town to right wrongs and whoop ass.
Wow, okay.
One of the pioneers of fast rapping. Started in 86 as a member of the Juice Crew.
Yeah.
He put out, I think the last time he recorded something full length was in 98. Wrote some lyrics for Biz Markie. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Big Daddy Kane's big time.
I think the only let me stare. I'm getting this right. Yeah, pretty much the only kind of new era guy that made my list only had like 3 or 4 records before his life was cut short, but you could already see how amazing he was going to be. LA's own Nipsey Hussle.
Oh, okay. I don't.
This record is amazing. The Marathon, such a good.
Yeah.
He has such a laid back flow that hits you so hard.
Yeah, he's not in my wheelhouse. I've been hearing about him a little bit.
Yeah, big in the mixtape community. He was young and up and coming. He was one of those dudes that marketed himself well, had ties to the community, was an entrepreneur, had his own clothing line, did all kinds of stuff, tried to help people from the community, and unfortunately was gunned down in front of his clothing store.
Yeah.
And if you notice some of the first episodes of our show, I know the very first one, I'm wearing a Crenshaw beanie. That's from his clothing line.
I'll have to check him out.
One of the most slept on, disrespected MCs in the history of the game, and I don't understand why. Also from LA.
Yeah.
DJ Quick. If you notice the spelling, there's no C.
Right.
Because he's blood. He wasn't playing.
I see. Yeah.
I got his name because he was just quick at coming up with songs and producing stuff. And
I never got big into his style, but working at the record store in the mid to late 90s, we didn't sell, I'm not going to say a bad word, but an F ton of
his stuff was
MC Quick.
It was gangster.
DJ Quick,
it was legit. It was party music. It was all the things you want. And again, another guy had a lot of success from mixtapes, and that brought labels in. Quick as the Name was his first record, which I think dropped in 91. Had a long running feud with MC8, EIHT, one of the greatest lines and one of the best classic tracks one of the best diss tracks ever recorded, Dollars and Cents. He said, you left the G out of your name because the G ain't in you. Dude just had a gift.
That's pretty good.
One of the guys I've loved since high school, but just couldn't quite crack the top 5. Again, another West Coast dude who used to sell tapes out of the trunk of his car. Oakland's own Too Short.
Yeah.
Born in LA, moved up to Oakland. What can you say about this legend? The dude has 21 records. His last record he put out in 2019.
Sheesh. Life is probably his.
I love that.
Probably his biggest, best known record.
Started recording in probably before 83 in Oakland's underground rap scene. Signed to major label in 87. 89 blew up with Life Is Too Short. Dude is a West Coast legend.
I mean, you talk about Ice-T kicking off gangster rap, kicking off a West Coast rap scene in a way, before NWA. Too Short's like the OG.
Yeah, with the subtle difference of he didn't really rap about gangbanging. He rapped about the hardships of life and the love of the booty,
a little bit of pimping,
and maybe he said the word bitch.
Yeah, but I mean, his early stuff was kind of a minimalist electro funk kind of style, and so he didn't make my list, by the way, but he's an important figure, and I think especially for the West Coast.
And he was an A's fan, which as an A's fan, when I sported my white Oakland A's starter jacket, I always felt like maybe I could be a Too Short, but no, it was not meant to be. I cannot spin a tale like this short.
And I think an interesting part of um, the evolution of rap in the context of um, the West Coast versus East Coast, or the West Coast coming later after it was established in New York. Nobody was throwing record deals at these artists. So the idea of making your own.
Yeah.
If you had talent, there was already an established bring you in and produce you. So he just started doing it all himself.
If you walk into the shop and you go over between where the metal section is and the movies are, you'll see a thing on the wall full of tapes. And that's how these cats made their living, man. They would cut a tape and they would dub it a million times and they'd sell that stuff and try to get a following. It was, YouTube and SoundCloud and all this stuff before those were a thing. These guys came up with the whole, SoundCloud is basically what they did, their hustle, what they did out of the backs of their car.
Same thing was going on with underground metal at the time too. Maybe they weren't selling it all out of their cars, but mail order, getting in the backs of little magazines and fanzines and stuff with their mailing address. And
as a huge music fan, and I know you're kind of the same way, you like different genres, the whole punk metal separation I never understood. Just the same way I never understood the rap metal separation. I always knew that the two eventually would come together because they're so alike. It might be a different medium, but the mindset behind it is so similar. Like those genres hustled more than anyone else because you had to, because you were an outsider.
Yeah, you were relegated to the underground, and you just had to figure out how to get your stuff out there. Was that your?
That was my five. That was my 5 honorable mentions.
Oh, okay. You restricted your honorable mentions to 5.
I did.
I went ahead and wrote down 10.
Man, you really went at it.
I'll just
try to let them out. I mean, what do we got left time?
They're not in a ranked order here. My top 5 I ranked. But
I did the same. No particular order on that one, but I ranked the top 5.
So my first that could be my number 1 if I'd have ranked these. Ecstasy from Houdini.
Love Houdini.
You talk about pulling somebody out of a group. He was the main voice of Houdini, and unfortunately, he passed away within the last year.
Oh, yeah. No Houdini reunions, huh?
So, R.I.P. to Ecstasy from Houdini. And one of the reasons I rank these guys really high, or him as an MC, is because at that time, 83, 84, 85, when they were emerging, can't remember exactly what date their first album came out, around 84, I think. Run DMC, LL Cool J, they hadn't really become huge yet. And I kind of think of Houdini as one of the very first like rock star rap groups.
You can see some of that, like Houdini and maybe even a little UTFO kind of influenced LL Cool J, who very well could have made my list.
And so, Ecstasy, he would come out, crazy outfits, tight little shorts, maybe some, glammy see-through top, giant hats. He had this hat that always had the string hanging on it.
He was definitely a rock star.
Yeah, so I just think really important there. And you just mentioned somebody else on my list, LL Cool J. Over time he became more about the commercial hit tunes. Yeah, and maybe wasn't pushing his mic control skills as hard. But early on,
until who is it? Cameron decided to come knocking and got schooled by the legend. Don't forget who you're messing with, young blood.
I do kind of remember that. That was funny.
LL's a legend for a reason, Gnomes.
Indeed. I mean, his first record just came out so hard.
I still remember seeing the video for Bad the first time, and I was like, going right to the record store and buying that one today.
Yeah. and obviously Can't Live Without My Radio
Yeah.
just blew your mind when it came out.
Signed to Def Jam by Rick Rubin.
Yep. And just had those big fat beats. But he was just hard, and there was nothing like that. Run DMC wasn't even that hard.
No.
And
but in a way that he was so versatile. Because even on that record, you had what I Need Love.
That is true. That
so
is
you were
very
like,
true.
man, this dude
Yes.
can do so many different things.
That is very true. He could do a sultry love tune.
And you didn't think it was cheesy. Like with other dudes, you'd be like, skip it. But with this dude, you were like, oh, all right. Hell's got a soft side. I dig that.
Indeed. Well, his name was Ladies Love
Cool James.
So had to put him on there.
When he put out what was that song? It was like Don't Call It a Comeback. That song was
no doubt, dude.
Epic.
God, and even after you thought he'd been around and done his thing, he came out with Mama Said Knock You Out.
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And Don't Call It a
that
Comeback.
That track was dope.
I'm Bad was hard. All of that shit,
man.
That's
my favorite song of his.
Next artist we already touched on, so I don't need to say much. But Kool Moe Dee of Treacherous 3,
a legend.
Just, I mean,
you cannot deny the man's impact on the genre.
He was there pretty much from the beginning, as the musical style of hip hop was allowing the MC to step forward and really take control of the situation. And as we know, MC comes from Master of Ceremonies. And then maybe started using it to say mic controller. Some rappers back then like to say that. Anyway, just we wouldn't have all these rappers without Kool Moe Dee.
I don't think so either.
Now, next one, this is two together, Chuck D and Flavor Flav. They kind of go together in terms of the effect of PE. You know, Chuck D's the real rapper there. Flav's not the greatest rapper, but he's always got a cool little add-on to things that Chuck says, you know. So he adds that impact to it. But really, Chuck D, because PE was hugely impactful, changed the game in their own way, brought a political angle, and Chuck D just came out the box with his own style of rapping. Didn't really sound like anybody before him. Here's another one. I'm just grouping these all together. This is my honorary mentions list. So I put Native Tongues, which includes De La Soul, Jungle Brothers, and Tribe Called Quest, and even Black Sheep, just for the art of rapping in a completely unique way.
I don't think, like, you can't gloss over De La Soul and Tribe Called Quest were so unbelievably unique when they came out that you were like, they were taking something that was already done and then putting their own little unique spin on it. You were like, where did this come from?
They didn't necessarily change the game in the sense that everybody went in that direction, but they brought something to the game that was inimitable, that was their own thing.
I take those guys a lot.
And maybe rather than saying change the game, they added to the perspective of what hip hop could be, what the art of rhyming could be, the whole musical landscape of it. There's somebody out of that whole umbrella that may come forward in my list.
For me,
at some point.
And it always, like a lot of, maybe my entire list, it comes from me being a white kid from the suburbs, and for me, the best hip hop, the best rap, the best artists painted me a picture of what their life was like. That's what I wanted. That's why the whole floss and southern rap thing in the like 90s or whatever didn't really hit with me, because I didn't care about any of that.
I think for the most part, it's got to be relatable in some way, even if it's not
your own lived experience. But what that was like. I wanted to know what the streets of New York was like. I wanted to know what it was like in Southern California, in some of the places you didn't want to be in. I wanted those pictures painted for me.
Indeed. Man. All right, next up, this guy's been around for a while, but to me, his real skill and talent as an MC has come forward more recently for me. LP. Yep.
Run the Jewels, Holmes. I love that band.
Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from Killer Mike.
Killer Mike's dope.
Everybody knows Killer Mike's dope. He was around before Run the Jewels. LP was around before Run the Jewels as a producer, and but in my opinion, within the overall sound aesthetic of Run the Jewels, I think it's driven by LP's style. It's obviously a collaborative effort, but LP designs the beats, the music, and it seems to me that the common cadence throughout most of their songs always kicks in on the and. For each bar, but he likes to come in on the and it sets a real rhythmic tone for how they drop their lines. And I also think he's just one of the cleverest lyric writers.
I think his ability to find beats and to create beats is what kind of drove that group in the first place.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and when I heard them, and then when I heard what they did with DJ Shadow, I was hooked instantly. Yeah. I have all 4 of their records. Yeah. They're amazing.
They're amazing. Got to see them live a few years ago, and that was great.
That would have been killer.
One last thing I'll say about LP is when I first started getting into Run the Jewels, loved the overall sound, but I would joke that LP is like the greatest not that great rapper. But then I ended up flipping and going, I think he's the most underrated great rapper.
Who would be the greatest not so great? Would it be Flavor Flav? Could he does a couple tracks on his own, but wouldn't he be the maybe Eazy-E?
He's a good call, but he turned that into something great.
He didn't write any of his own shit.
Yeah. But he had a voice, and he turned that into something very iconic.
After Dre and
Flavor Flav's more of a novelty thing when he raps.
After Dre and Ice Cube taught him how to rap.
Yeah, well, I wasn't there for that, but in the movie of NWA, they certainly make it seem like they had to coach him. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I don't want to get shot over any of this shit, so I'm not trying to disrespect anybody.
Now, I think you might have alluded to these guys earlier.
Well, did allude to them.
Yeah, and so I put the 3 of them together because I don't think there's any point in trying to pull one of them out.
We'll talk about it.
I know who I would single out if I was going to. Probably MCA.
See, okay, that's not who I gravitated towards.
It's too close of a call. They're each individual, but they function so well as a unit. The Beastie Boys, of course.
Can't. It's almost impossible.
It's in terms of the art of rapping, in terms of the skill of rapping, the Beastie Boys are they're hard to fold in. They're on another level, but they're super significant, and they really are MCs. They really are musical artists with their rap style, and they're massive, dude. They had to be on the list in some way.
Paul's Boutique is one of the greatest hip-hop records ever recorded.
Yeah, it's one of the craziest damn records of all time. Had to mention, and this guy is very high on the list for me, Guru from Gangstar.
Love Gangstar.
Gangstar rules. Gangstar as a group rules, in part because DJ Premier is one of the raddest.
Love Gangstar.
Raddest DJs.
So slept on, so underrated. I mean, not inside the hip hop community, but maybe the people that
they didn't get as massive.
Into a lot. Yeah, not as massive as they should have gotten.
People who really know, DJ Premier is weird. He's up there as one of the greatest DJs. But Guru, one of the things that was unique about him was in this era that we refer to as the golden age, the mid 80s to the early 90s, most rappers still were coming with this kind of classic MC style, real kind of a projected voice, influenced by a broadcasting kind of voice. Um, and Guru comes along and he's got this really kind of laid back voice, which is something that kind of came into hip hop more in the 90s. Not that he himself was coming from a mellowed out perspective. His stuff still had a hard edge to it. He just didn't project his voice real hard. It was a
Sometimes
softer approach.
People that talk the softest are the baddest dudes in the room.
And they talked about some heavy stuff, man.
They were amazing.
Gang Starr. Another guy that he's not huge. I just felt he could fit in my 10 honorable mentions because I just think he's one of the greatest somewhat modern MCs. He's been around for 20 years, but Mr. Liff, who came out on LP's Def Jux label and had a lot of his production done by LP. I've seen Mr. Liff 3 times live here in small little venues, and the dude's the real deal. He just, as a rapper, as somebody who, I think took rhyme scheming and the mic control kind of mindset to a next level. He's hip hop, he's hardcore rap, and so if you don't know Mr. Liff, check out his stuff. I just think he's one of the illest MCs. Now, last but not least whatsoever, because I think this guy is also one of the most important. We wouldn't be where we are without this guy, Melly Mel.
Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. Part of the Furious 5.
Came out of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5.
Man, what an amazing.
He did the song, the iconic song from the movie Beat Street. And then the one you're talking about, The Message.
Legend. Dude is a legend.
In an era when most rap music, most hip hop was talking about life in a way to kind of take you out of,
take your mind off.
So it was party music. It was, let's celebrate, let's get together, have fun, glad that we're here in this moment. Most of it didn't get that deep early on. So you think about Public Enemy and NWA coming down the road. Well, The Message by Melly Mel was one of the first. This is a report from the street. This is what's going on in
you
our
think about
neighborhoods.
the history of hip hop, and I didn't know you were going to bring this up, so obviously I didn't research any of this, but I don't think there were too much of a gap between Rapper's Delight from Sugar Hill Gang and The Message.
No, not at all.
Couldn't have been that.
Not at all.
But the chasm between the two styles is like the Grand Canyon.
And if you listen to all of the Furious 5 records, most of it, there's a few other songs that maybe are a bit about the darker side of things in that era. New York City obviously hadn't been cleaned up, as it were, and things that came in the last couple decades. But,
tough era.
Hard shit going on, and that was really the first song that I know of that was addressing that kind of stuff.
And still relevant. 40 years later?
For real. Melly Mel and his style, he had some real unique, iconic things that he would do, little signature sounds and things, and those guys also had rock star style. They were kind of bringing the sort of P-Funk Parliament kind of fashion sense,
and then
to it.
Anchored by the absolute. Mr. Flash might be the greatest DJ to ever sit behind the turntables. The list is very short, and he has to be on it.
Yeah, he's not the very first, but he's in that wave. Basically, it was Kool Herc, and then Grandmaster or Grand Wizard Theodore, and then Grandmaster Flash.
Flash is amazing.
So that's my list of the honorable mentions, and we could have had so many more.
God, we could
of
do
course.
volumes and volumes.
Yeah,
There's so many people I left off.
Anybody that was making records in those early days, they were all doing something cool.
Amazing. Like they were
all original.
And again,
fresh.
it's those things like we talked about last week with Sabbath or whenever Sabbath episode. These dudes were striking new territory. Yeah. They were blazing trails, man. You couldn't. Yeah, amazing stuff. So Jay went into an area I pretty much figured he was going to go in, with the exception of DJ Shock, who I have no idea who that is. Should have probably researched that. He went Rob Bass, MC Hammer, Young MC, and Adam Yout.
Okay.
I always liked Horovitz, but when you look at maybe not a Gangstar or a Mobb Deep so much, maybe not even a Wu-Tang, where each individual member is getting their, it's like, this dude has a verse, and this dude has a verse, and this dude has a verse. The Beastie Boys don't do that. They're all over. Like, it would be impossible to try to learn how to do what they do because they're all on each other's.
Yeah.
They're doing their own verses, but then they're coming in on everybody else's stuff.
Yeah.
So it's almost impossible to pull one out from the other. They almost have to be looked at as a collective.
They do get separate verses or even just a couple of lines. And they're trading off. Usually all three of them are involved, sharing the songs together, but they're all active the whole time.
Yeah. One of the most unique groups in the history of.
I said MCA earlier. There's been times where I thought Mike D was the dopest one. Like, some of the lines he drops and his. They each have a unique voice.
Yeah.
Beastie Boys, they're kind of an enigma in a way. They're outsiders, but yet they've been in it as long as rap has been popular, and they even really helped popularize rap music
from the ashes of a punk band. Comes the.
They understood what they collectively were really,
and they did it in a way that instead of alienating the thing that they were trying to come from, they shined a light on it. So, where, groups like Elvis or Zeppelin, who get derided for kind of biting African American music and then not giving any props to them. Beastie Boys did not do that. They shone a light on every one of their influences and said, you think this is great, go listen to this. So, they did it the right way.
They were literally right there with Run DMC and LL Cool J on Def Jam at the beginning.
At the very beginning.
Touring and representing rap music at that time when, even though it had already been around 5, 6, 7 years in coming out of the hip-hop culture, they were the first ones to break.
Dorm room from NYU. Oh, the legends that walked out of that.
You made me think of something that I meant to. It didn't end up on my list. I guess I could have had 11. I don't know. We could go on and on with those, but I don't think it's on either of our top 5. So I just want to mention Will Smith, the Fresh Prince. That guy was there at the beginning of commercial rap music too, and he's a great rapper. I think he should be mentioned. He's really important to rap music. So, okay, whatever, dude.
No, say no to Will Smith.
No, dude, the Fresh Prince was an important rapper. He had some of the biggest commercial hits back in the day.
This is what I will. This is the respect I will give to the Prince. He was clever. There's no doubt that he's skilled. There's no doubt, or he wouldn't have made it as far as he did. The only thing I like is the fact that his popularity might have interested people to look at something that was a little bit more real instead of what I believe is a facade built to sell records. I just think he's fake. I just think it's all a contrived, notion to, and maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Like, as you can see with a lot of my list, it's kind of made up of gangster rap because that's just really what I'm into. But your career can only be so long in that, because eventually, if you become popular, you leave. You're no longer in that environment. You're no longer part of that thing. So if you're living in Bel Air or Beverly Hills, you can't rap about
somebody
carjacking and
somebody should have told Ice Cube time ago that maybe.
I don't know, the stuff he's coming out with lately about the government's pretty fire.
Well, that's fair. I'm just saying he was making a lot of money and still putting out gangster rap records. Dude was, I don't know.
Put a pin in that. We'll talk about it.
Whatever. I'm down with Ice Cube.
My number 5. I think we talked about it last week, and it's so hard for me to keep all these episodes in line. Are never rated.
Oh yeah.
San Francisco's own. Yeah. This is the record that lost him his original deal. I think it was originally going to be called Bush Killer.
I couldn't imagine that this wouldn't be on your top list.
I love this dude.
Talking about it last week.
Love this dude. One of my absolute favorites. If you like extreme, highly political, highly social relevancy of being a minority in America from a perspective of someone that doesn't care about your feelings, this dude is legit. And I kind of mentioned it a little bit last time. He is politically and socially conscious, influenced by the Black Panthers, of which I think he was a member. He started rapping after getting a bachelor's degree in economics from UC Davis.
Damn.
The dude is for real brilliant. After that record, I think he might have put out one more after that and kind of become disillusioned and retired and became a stockbroker and became a highly successful stockbroker to the point where it gave him the financial freedom to then, in 2003, restarted his career with Sonic Jihad. And then he just put out a record earlier this year, maybe late last year, and it's friggin' great. Yeah. So if you like stuff, incendiary stuff about the wheels of government and how they crap on the little guy,
I was going to say, if you're not familiar with Paris, but maybe know some artists a little bit more modern, like Dead Prez or Mortal Technique.
The Coup. I love Mortal Technique.
Yeah, so if you're familiar with that stuff but don't know Paris, I think you would be inclined to dig on where Paris is coming from.
Immortal Technique says a lot of things in metaphor that Paris comes right out, and
there you go.
Paris was like, I'm gonna murder the president, like fuck this guy. So it hits me in all the right places.
Heck yeah, dude. He didn't make my list, but I have respect for Paris. This one, this one's on my top 5. I'm putting it at number 5, only because of the historical significance. This artist did hardly anything that is recorded, and they're not even a legendary rapper, not even the greatest rapper, but one of the first female rappers on record. This is a very early Sugar Hill Gang record by a group called the Funky 4+1 More. And it's a song called That's the Joint, which you hear a little bit of sampled in Shake Your Rump by the Beastie Boys. So this woman's name is Shaw Rock. And before MC Light, before Salt and Pepper, there weren't very many females.
Roxanne
Shante for sure.
Yo-Yo.
But they're, unfortunately, there's never been as many women in the game. But Shaw Rock has just a cool just a cool, chill, slick voice, and she's on this record with these other dudes, and it's one of the first Sugar Hill joints. It's one of the greatest party rap records of all time. This is just a 12-inch single. The song, which is about 7 minutes long, plus an instrumental on the other side, and just huge for me. This is the sound of hip hop to me.
Apparently, you got it from KHSU.
I didn't get it directly from them. I got it at some point. You can see it's written.
They used to be rad.
February 26th, 1981. So actually, yesterday would have been an anniversary, at least for when they received that record. Yeah, it came out in 1980. So yeah, 81 is not the actual date of the record. But anyway, that's the joint. Funky 4+1, Shaw Rock. You should know that track.
Moving back to the West, you mentioned him before. The gangster rap had already kind of been a thing, but then it just exploded with NWA.
Yeah.
And there cannot be an NWA. There would not be an NWA. There probably wouldn't be as much of a huge imprint as West Coast rap is without the legendary Ice Cube. This dude is one of the most gifted writers in the game. His first, 4 records are amazing.
Yeah.
And
this
all the
still
stuff,
my favorite.
all the stuff he did with NWA, he basically wrote most of Eazy-E's first solo record. He was the mastermind behind NWA, where he was the words and Dre was the beats.
Yeah.
Primary lyricist for NWA before going solo over. He wasn't getting paid. They were basically saying there wasn't writers. They were ghostwriting everything, and no, it was him. He was the brains. Easy Does It is the record from Easy that he primarily wrote a lion's share of that. Then of course he went on to do West Side Connection. Right now he's doing Mount Westmore, which I
not hip to that.
I don't have a problem with Mac Dre. I don't have a problem with Snoop, but in my mind, they don't belong on Mount Westmore. So that's my issues with that.
Not Mac Dre. Who?
E40.
E40.
My bad.
Yeah.
E40. Yeah. I think he's great. I think E40's great, but he's not one of the top 4 West Coast MCs ever. Like, get out of here with that. I don't want to hear that shit.
Some people would disagree with you.
And then he gives the acting thing a turn. It was amazing in Boys in the Hood.
Dude,
I even thought he was great
Friday.
in Higher Learning, which wasn't as impactful as Boys in the Hood.
Friday's my jam.
Friday. Great in the cheesy little flick Anaconda. It was in Three Kings, obviously.
I think he punches a giant snake in that shit.
Yeah, which is probably he would do in real life. If you're not really hip to what he started out as, or maybe you don't know the solo stuff, go back and refresh yourself with that. Don't get caught up in this is the dude that started a basketball league or the guy that's on TV. No, man, go back to those first 4 records.
Well, the one that you showed off, I'd like to mention also, because you're talking about West Coast. Who produced his first solo album? Who created those beats?
No, was it Dre?
The Bomb Squad.
Oh,
It's working with the Shockley brothers.
Yeah.
The Bomb Squad.
East Coasters. So yeah, a little bit of
when he goes
meld.
solo, he goes and grabs some East Coast
He's
juice
smart.
for the flavor there. But the subject matter, the attitude is still very much.
I think that's the record that has no Vaseline on it. Talk about bodying some dudes.
Oh shit!
Holy moly!
The track that's always jumped out at me is the song "Endangered Species."
Yeah,
man, the lyrics on that. Yeah, the Ice Cubes. Man,
he did the Lynch Mob.
Yeah.
That was
now he had a way
awesome.
with words, and his delivery was just massive. hardcore command of delivering that attitude. All right. Yeah, all right. I got 3 visual representations, 3 different sort
Coming
of
strong.
personas. So this artist isn't necessarily somebody you would immediately think of as like a highly skilled, or not so much like a lyrical or vocal acrobat, but lyrically very interesting, very unique. His delivery is super unique. His whole approach to the game is just super unique. So I came with Kool Keith, aka Dr. Octagon, aka Black Elvis, originally from the Ultramagnetic MCs. And turns out that dude's from the Bronx. And when Dr. Octagon came out, you'd never heard anything like that. It's kind of this alien rap vibe. He's saying stuff that just didn't fit in with what most rappers were talking about. Seemed almost like he was mentally damaged a little bit or something.
We like our humans mentally damaged.
Yeah, but he knew exactly what he was doing. He's just such a unique character. He does different personas throughout his releases. I think he was involved in adult film for some time.
Good for him.
He had the goods to do that, I suppose.
He was packing maybe Ice Cube wanted to punch his anaconda.
Okay.
That would have been a movie.
I did not know I was going to hear that phrase. So this right here, when did this? 94, 95? 96. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't quite recall what end of the mid-90s that was, but Dr. Octagon, just, Earth People, Blue Flowers, those were tracks that everybody was just like, where the hell is this guy coming from? And then the follow-up, Black Elvis, don't let anybody tell you that this isn't as phenomenal as Dr. Octagon. Just as good, and it's just as bizarre. And then an example of his original.
That's the
Ultramagnetic.
That's
MCs.
The one that probably people.
So this was in that.
That's hip hop right there.
This was in that
right?
golden age.
Starter jackets, got the chains. Who didn't want a freaking rope chain, bro?
And looking at Kool Keith on here, kind of the weirdest looking one in a way.
Yeah.
I think he's got
the greatest friggin' album covers in the world.
So Ultramagnetic kind of, they were in that golden age around the same time as De La and Tribe and all that, but kind of had more of that New Jack flavor, but also sampling James Brown grooves and stuff. So I think just for overall uniqueness and creativity, I put him in the middle of my top 5 there, or number 4 in my top 5. Kool Keith.
My number 3, I'm staying on the West Coast, and I'm staying with the Ices. 38 solid gold,
yes,
my
indeed.
medallion.
The original Ice.
The original Ice. The one and only Ice-T. Yeah, you got the front. Mr. Ice, what are you holding behind your back? I got me a Uzi.
It's kind of funny that he's got it behind his back when she's just showing it out right there.
I met her.
Wow.
And him. I don't know if I told you that story. So I'm in Vegas, TDY. It's like a temporary duty thing.
Okay.
And we were in Caesar's Palace. And I'm at the sports book watching a basketball game. I was betting on basketball games. And 2 of my friends come over and they're like, Ice-T is here. And that chick from the records is here too. And I'm like, yeah, no, they're not. And he's like, nope, they are. All right, let's go. So here we go. We beeline. We come through. and he's sitting in front of a video poker machine, or what I believe it was a video poker machine, some machine that's going off because he's won. And I was like, holy shit, that's Ice-T. Just the way you think he would be. White shirt, blue LA hat, like on point, with like 3 or 4 of the biggest human beings I've ever seen in my life. These dudes were massive.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, what are you gonna do? And they're like, we're not gonna do anything. I'm like, fuck that. I make a beeline for the dude. So here's this goofy looking white kid coming straight for him, and these guys converged like it was nothing. Yeah. I'm like, well, I'm gonna die. He stops them from moving. He's like, yeah, I got it. Because he probably did. And
he's not scared.
So I just, no. And he had no reason to be.
He's not worried that you're going to.
So I just held out my hand. I shook his hand. He extended.
Wow.
Gives me the firm handshake. I was just like, hey, man, I just want to tell you that I'm a big fan. I dig your work. Think you're great.
Yeah.
What year was simple, this? God, this was what, 95?
Wow.
Maybe?
Okay. Yeah.
So, nothing major, nothing. I wasn't fawning over the dude, or, inside I was geeking out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like crazy.
Yeah.
Really wanting to get down to the, what was your inspiration for LGB&F? Girls, let's get butt naked and fuck. Like, what was going on in your mind space when you were crafting this tome? And the girl was there looking, amazing. And I said to him, I swear that this is how it went down. I said, we disconnect. I turn to leave. Say to him, I tell you good luck, but I see that you don't need it. Doesn't chuckle, doesn't laugh, but he smiled and kind of like gave me like, and I was like, you know what? For the rest of my life, Ice-T gave me I got the nod, and I got the smile. So, that is all the cred I need. He has an unbelievable past. I don't have time to get into it all, but look up the dude. His first name is Tracy, and he would learn through his life of doing all this crazy stuff. He picked up the book from Iceberg Slim and was reading it and learned parts of it. So then he would read it to people verbatim from his memory. Wow. And people would say, give us more of that Ice-T, because his name was Tracy. So Ice-T became his moniker.
Cold
Ryan Pace. Yeah, Ryan Pace was his first record. It was the second hip-hop record in history to have the explicit sticker.
Yeah.
Slick Rick was the first. He had a small part in Breakin' and Breakin' 2. 6 in the Morning hit. Wasn't the first gangster rap song. Schoolie D had one before that, which is probably the first real. But he took it to a place where it hadn't been. Crafted entire records around.
But even when Ice-T came in with that, they weren't calling it that.
No, that 6 in the Morning record, people were like, what?
Yeah.
Like, nobody had ever really heard anything like that. Of course, then he hits New Jack City and Surviving the Game. And
did the title track to Colors.
Yeah. And then, like we were talking about, when you leave the hood, what are you going to do? So he kind of reinvents himself with some of his friends and creates Body Count.
Yeah.
Who are still going strong today and are amazing. So Ice, one of my favorites. If you ever are out there watching this, and I know you won't, but if for some reason you do, thank you so much for being cool to a young geeky white kid who idolized you and thought you were amazing. And I didn't want to be you or anything. I just thought you were great, and I still do. So I wouldn't mind hearing another crazy rap epic record from the team.
Yeah, he doesn't rate as one of my top favorite rappers, but he's massive. He came, before the gangster rap explosion. Um, to me, he's more significant in my life from his appearance in Breakin', because the song, um, uh, while he's performing in some scenes in the club in Breakin', um, but one particular song that was featured there made the soundtrack, and so the
Yeah,
full,
I think he had one on the sound and it didn't get released.
yeah, I don't know
But that
about him in the second movie.
track he did on the first one,
the first one,
where they're outside towards
they're,
the end. Is that the one I'm thinking
no,
of? Maybe
no,
I'm thinking of the wrong one.
they're in the club. But anyway, the song that was recorded and put onto the soundtrack is "Reckless,"
Yeah, that's
and
a
the
great
DJ
track.
behind it was known as Chris the Glove Taylor. But so, that was kind of hard hitting stuff, but it had that more electro funk boogaloo style that went along with popping, and to me at that time, just the freshest, dopest sounding shit, and that song's never gotten old to me
Ever.
So when I first heard him coming out with stuff off his first record, at first I was like, "This is Ice-T." I thought this guy.
You were thinking he was going to be completely different.
Yeah, I mean, because maybe I wasn't following that stuff that closely, so I didn't hear it till a bit later. But that's a significant track. I mean, that's a standalone track that has been on old school hip hop compilations.
There were a lot of dudes that you could classify as gangster rap, and I'm no music historian, so I'm probably going to be completely off base here, but to my recollection, there are not too many where a lot of guys want to glorify the lifestyle, and I'm not saying that he doesn't, but he also shows you the consequences of what's behind that behavior. He, 6 a.m. ends with him, either in jail or dead. There's several songs that he's put out through those first, 4 records that are amazing, where he's getting shot. And the only other one I can really remember is also on my list, and I won't talk about it because we'll get there eventually. But, it wasn't just a glorification of it. This is what we have to deal with and what we have to live with. And it comes with negative connotations as well. It ain't all about gold chains and fast cars and beautiful girls. There's real danger behind what's going on.
I think that he had kind of a higher oversight over the whole thing, kind of an objective perspective. So it was from within.
Yeah. With almost everyone on both of these lists, if you look at what they do, they're almost a curator of histories. They're giving you historical context of what's going on in their world through their eyes.
Yeah.
And that's number 3, the T.
So my number 3 is kind of where we had a little impasse on the concept here.
No, because we didn't set forth the concept. So there can be no impasse.
So I'm not even going to try to give a bill.
I'll probably tell you why it's wrong, though.
The Wu-Tang Clan. I know. I just think, even though you can pull out individual MCs here, you can pull out Method Man, you can pull out ODB, you can pull out the RZA.
Stop. You're missing one.
No, I'm not.
Nope, you are. Who's the best one?
Well, there's the
almost
Jizza,
made. There we go. Finally, the genius.
I was gonna list all of the original.
Please, list them all.
Wu-Tang
I love
Method Man, Old Dirty Bastard, RZA, Jizza, Raekwon, and Ghostface Killah.
Inspect the deck.
Yeah, he's kind of ugly.
You God.
Yeah, I don't count them as the original.
We're putting them in.
So even though each of those could be analyzed individually, as a for sure, as a force, as this unit, nothing like that had been seen before. Nobody
No.
had busted out with something like
Nope.
that before.
Not with
And-
that many
Right.
unbelievably stellar
Yeah.
humans
And-
on.
Yeah.
No, man, no.
And so even though they each have their individual personality, individually, I put them in there because Wu-Tang is massive.
Yes.
When they came along, it changed people's
Protect Your
perspective
Neck.
on
When Protect Your Neck dropped, holy moly.
Yeah.
You knew. You just knew something special was happening.
Yeah, and they've made a lot of great records. I brought, besides their debut, Iron Flag
don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
give
not-
it a little
not
bit.
trying to gloss
Yeah, this record is full
nothing like that
blown
record.
amazing.
The Mystery of Chess Boxing,
Oh my
Cream, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Iron Flag's one of my faves out of there, and then one of the ones.
Okay, so
is huge.
this was on my list, and I took it off for the reasons we've spoke about, and then I took it off because he just didn't really have the impact of this. He couldn't keep that.
This record.
But this record is one of the most amazing hip hop records
And
ever recorded.
If I'm not wrong, that's the first solo drop.
I think it was their first, the first
came
one,
out not long after their first record. So these guys were already ready to just be dropping.
and the
record after
whole record is backdropped with the what is it? It's I'm looking for it. Shogun Assassin. So, if you were into this, then you were watching Shogun Assassin and you were like, all the things they were into were things that I was into, kung fu movies and all this stuff. Man, Hell's Wind Staff.
Other aspects of Wu-Tang Clan too is on that first record. You don't see what any of them look like.
No.
The whole
They were
Wu-Tang-
calling their, Staten Island, they were calling Shaolin. It was like, you weren't seeing anything like that.
And then rapping through metal grills and shit. What would you call those? They weren't grills, but just they had those teeth they would put in with fangs on them, and they'd be rapping through that because they liked the sound of lisping and slurping through their fake teeth. It just added a mystique and an effect to their vocal style. And there's a movie called Stretch and Bobbito, a documentary on
I haven't seen that one.
these two cats that became fast friends when they met each other when they were both college age in New York City. I think they both went to NYU. Stretch was this really tall, lanky dude who was a good DJ, and he wanted to be on the radio as a DJ. And Bobbito was this new friend, and they both had the same love of hip hop. They get a show late at night on the college station there, and all of a sudden, it just became a phenomenon where all of the upcoming rappers, particularly from the East Coast, but even some from elsewhere, were coming into their university radio studio and dropping live bombs and performing while Stretch would drop the beats. So the reason I bring that up is because legendary video footage of Wu-Tang Clan all coming into the studio before they got big, Nas, people like Big L, probably Tribe Called Quest.
All the big East Coast dudes.
From the West Coast, I think you had 93 Till Infinity. Drawing a blank. Anyway, but yeah, in this documentary, you just see all these cats before they really blew up coming in, just because it became a phenomenon. These guys were cool and people felt comfortable, and so just seeing Wu-Tang Clan before they were huge in that setting was so cool.
And it's important too because a lot of people when coming through the 80s, college radio was a huge way to get things that might not make it onto regular radio. And it gets a lot of press for, REM and a lot of these alt bands. But it did a lot with hip hop too, where you could get, if you got on a college radio station, that could be broadcast through all kinds of different colleges, and you were reaching a huge audience.
Yeah.
And
it kind of ties in with that underground selling your mixtapes on the streets. So,
and they are part of the reason why I hate the Roots. Yeah, I can see the confusion. I can see the confusion. So I hear that the mighty Wu-Tang is going to tour, all of them. So I knew, like, this might not ever happen again.
Yeah.
Not only that, they were touring with Rage Against the Machine. So it was like, can't miss it. So me and a bunch of friends get tickets. I believe the tour started. I believe it started on the East Coast. So by the time it got, however many shows deep, ODB passes and they pulled off of the... So through no fault of their own, the Roots took their place, and a heartbroken me was despondent, and I didn't want to hear it. I don't care about that. I love Questlove. I think he's an amazing musician. But I didn't want to hear that crap. I wanted to hear Wu-Tang.
Yeah, I could understand that. Yeah,
I was heartbroken. And, of course, never got...
Major letdown there.
They did do the, Tiny Desks series with ODB's kid, who looks and sounds a lot like him. Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're ever getting those, 8, 9, 10 dudes ever.
No, even when they perform in modern times as Wu-Tang, it's usually... a few
Method's gone, or I don't know.
Yeah, they came to Southern Humboldt, I don't know, within the last decade, and it was only a partial Wu-Tang.
Yeah, I don't want it if I can't see it all.
I almost put Black Thought in my honorable mentions.
I really thought you were gonna. Yeah, there was
the early Roots records.
Not seen some.
The first few Roots records. That dude is an incredible MC, but didn't make it. Oh, well.
Yeah. But you know who did? The only person I culled from a group. And why? Because he was pretty much the predominant voice of the group.
Yeah.
I think you've already said it. And Chuck D, Public Enemy. What's to say that hasn't been said about this incredible...
And that record right there is just one of the most incredible... hip-hop rap records ever
Freedom
made,
is a road seldom traveled by the multitudes. This is an amazing record. Maybe their most impactful song for me isn't even on this record. It's on a record that not a lot of people even like, and it's By the Time I Get to Arizona.
Oh, yeah. That's on Apocalypse 91.
So he's the leader and main vocalist for Public Enemy. He helped create politically and socially conscious rap. Signed to Def Jam by Rick Rubin, another in the early Def Jam. He's known for his powerful, that thing where you were talking about people that really forceful, like you feel what he's coming with. Did some solo stuff. I don't think the solo stuff is quite hits the same level as Public Enemy when you put all the things that Public Enemy is, but I could not leave him off the list and wait for where maybe with Mobb Deep or Gangstar, UTFO, or, Tribe, or like those Ghetto Boys, you can't separate one from all the rest. With Chuck, you kind of really can. Yeah. He is Public Enemy. Public Enemy just doesn't exist without him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And then of course he went on to Prophets of Rage, which was really fun, and I really wish that they would have stuck around a little longer, because now Rage is back, and what have they done? Nothing. We're waiting. Like if this isn't the time for Rage to bust out a new record, when is it? So
I don't know, man. I don't know what's up with those guys.
I don't either. You want to play Coachella and make money, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't want to get into all that. It's kind of hard to Rage Against the Machine when you're making a shit ton of money and get charged $400 a seat to your shows. I don't know how much of it goes to charity or whatnot.
No, dude.
But yeah, I don't know. It seemed like, what's the right phrase? Like, it seems like they didn't deliver what they talked about in a way. Like maybe even
I think early
for
on
20 years and kind of playing every once in a while.
I think early on the messages they were sending were received, and then they disbanded. So when they came back, you waited to see what you know. Now, what do you have to say? I don't.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want the nostalgia acts. If you don't have something new and fresh to say, then I kind of lose interest. Yeah. And they were the band that was talking about the stuff that nobody wanted to talk about, and they were shining a light on things that nobody wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And now we're waiting.
Yeah.
Like if you can't come up with a scathing record about the evils of the government and society in this time and age,
I'm a little confused by it, but Zach has dropped a couple tracks with Run the Jewels.
Yeah, good stuff too.
That's good,
great stuff.
I love the first two Rage Against the Machine records. Battle for LA, it's not bad, but the first two are the ones that hit me the hardest. I still love that stuff, and yeah, you would kind of think that in light of current times, after all the time that's passed since they last made a record together, you would think they would just be percolating with something
seething
really
with
big
rage. No pun intended.
And we're off on a total tangent about that.
It happens. So that's my number 2, Chuck D.
That is such a massive record. Public Enemy's massive.
Got a letter from the government the other day. Don't be staring.
No, I'm actually staring at that picture. I don't know what it is. Which is good.
I'm gonna surprise you.
I bet that makes me think that we both left somebody important off.
Who? Who do you think I left off?
Well, I didn't bring up KRS-One.
No, we did leave him off.
Yeah, and I don't think we meant to.
I don't There's just so many spaces, and damn, I know. Right?
He doesn't rap in a way where your first thought of like great rapper is like, oh, KRS-One. But he was a great rapper. His delivery was great. But his
Boogie Down Productions,
BDP, and then into solo years after Scott LaRock died.
Yes.
And that was actually one of the first major deaths in hip hop, losing Scott LaRock. So I think I wrote my list over. I'd written it once and then I forgot it.
He was in my mind, but I was like, nothing, not that he isn't amazing, but nothing that he did really.
No, but he's such a massive representative of hip hop culture, and especially in the era that he came from.
So much so that my soon-to-be 13-year-old son, who has never sat down and listened to a BDP record or a KRS-One record, when we're driving down the street and a cop goes by or a cop's pulled someone over, he'll be like, "Woo, woo, it's the sound of the police." Like, he's never heard. So that's all you need to know about KRS-One. Influencing the kids still.
That's rad, dude.
Yeah.
All right. This is back to that thing we were talking about. I pulled somebody out of a group.
Okay.
I'll just go ahead
and go from UTFO.
I wish, dude. Dr. Ice. It's Pasta News from De La Soul.
Okay. Plug one. I can't
Kelvin
argue.
Mercer.
I can't really argue. They're amazing.
De La Soul, on some days, is my all-time favorite hip-hop rap group, because they're more esoteric. They're weird.
Yeah. Well, you are the emperor of esoteric.
We already talked about the impact of the native tongues and how unique they were. And De La Soul was basically the first. And
I have a feeling I think I know who your number one is.
Yeah, you do.
This record is
this album tripped everybody out.
Next level amazing.
Tripped everybody out.
Nobody knew how to take it.
No, and it also contains pound for pound like the most samples besides Paul's Boutique.
But look, did this come out 86, 87,
just a little
89.
bit later. Yeah,
the style. Look at how they decided to, with the pastels and the pinks and the yellows and the blue. Nobody was doing this.
No,
like people didn't know how to deal with this.
But then the rest of the Native Tongues with Tribe Called Quest and Jungle Brothers, they had their own style, maybe a little even more sort of Afrocentric, but still a little on that hippie vibe. But they were pushing this whole kind of
so much.
rebirth of the flower power hippie thing.
Jungle Brothers, Q-Tip, and the all-time classic.
Say No Go, based off of the Hall & Oates.
Jennifer Taught Me.
Can't go for that. Yeah, Jennifer Taught Me. That's that record is just it's a head full. It's a head trip.
Yeah, love it.
My favorite is their third record.
See, that's the one I don't
Balloon
have.
Mind State.
Is this De La Soul's Dead? Yeah, this is the other one. I had this one too. I don't have the third
So they had a strange sense of humor.
They're amazing.
I couldn't even really accurately talk about it unless I had their lyrics printed out, but they had a way of rhyming and using words that, like, most of it I don't even think I could parse exactly where they're coming from, what they're trying to say. So it's just like lyrical phrases get in your head. You're like, damn. But it's poetry. There's stuff hidden in there. They were so good at hiding little ideas and thoughts and things and coming from this direction that you wouldn't expect.
You gotta give a big scoop of respect to Prince Paul as well.
Yes.
He had a lot to
do with that. The early De La Soul is definitely musically schemed up by Prince Paul.
Yeah.
They had a falling out at some point, but
unfortunately, hopefully they rebuilt the bridge.
And they are a group of three, but Maceo is really the guy that played their beats behind them, their DJ essentially. So it's really just Trugoy the Dove and Plug One, which is Pasta Noose. Yeah. But out of those two, Pos is the one that I think has the most impact, and
I think he's the one that you remember the most.
Yeah, they're both great, but there's something about him.
You pulled your number one from a group too.
No, not really.
Well, I must be wrong then. I thought for sure your number one was going to be Q-Tip.
Oh no, Q-Tips.
Oh man, fuck Tribe.
It's almost like
fucking amazing.
Yeah, just didn't even want to go there. I just had to put in the whole Native Tongues things
which was a good call.
Because Tribe
it covers so many bases.
Could do a whole episode on Tribe Called Quest.
Well, there can only be one. The man who blew up rap forever, who maybe really put it into the mainstream. Miami's own Rob Van Winkle, Vanilla Ice, my number one. Now I'm fucking with you, bro. It's Rakim.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say Eminem or some shit.
No, I don't like Eminem. I don't like Eminem, and I like Biggie and Pac too, but I just find them to be so vastly overrated in the grand scheme of things. Sometimes when things hit the zeitgeist, they just become bigger than life. And while I like a lot of that stuff, I don't like it like this guy. Like
so
this
before
man.
You go any further,
yes,
I got to jump in here.
Yes, sir.
Because
you jump.
We've had these moments many times.
And holy shit, you gotta be fucking with me.
So we might as well just do this.
Oh my god, this is.
Might as well. There's no question.
I can't. I'm actually honestly stunned. I did not think that's where you were going. For me, there is no question. If you only ever buy one record, buy the 2-disc version of the 18th Letter because it has all the hits on it on a separate disc.
I remember that cover art there.
Yeah.
So it's an anthology?
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
one disc is the album, the 18th letter.
Oh,
And then one album is like all the stuff that like all the
yeah,
big
because
time hits
18th
he
letter
did.
was a solo album
Yeah.
he did in like the
So all
early
the stuff
2000s or
with
something.
Eric B and Rakim and all the big time stuff you like Juice and all the stuff is on the second disc, like the hits disc, and it's a must own. This man, in my book, is the greatest that's ever done it. I don't think the word flow was introduced until he put it into the lexicon. It was, his tone, his delivery, his style, the way he almost lulled you to sleep with this tenor of his voice, with just slapping you in the face.
It's funny that you say tenor, because I've heard him talk about this. He grew up playing the saxophone.
Oh, okay.
And I've heard him talk about what he is hearing in his mind, how he wants to flow over the beats. He's hearing himself or Coltrane or anybody. So he's hearing these runs as an expression of playing an instrument. And that kind of leads into in the way you get in improvisational jazz, even though his lyrics are not improvised. So you talked about how flow was a term that came along because of that dude. He's now been analyzed and credited with inventing and pioneering this aspect of rapping that goes to this like Inception type.
Yeah,
deep
you want to
levels.
hear the term for it? I wrote it down.
Yes.
So let me just read what I wrote. Obviously half of Eric B and Rakim. His solo work is massive. One of the most influential MCs of all time. Helped pioneer the use of internal rhymes, which is what you're talking about. So inside the sentence, right? At the end of the sentence is where you come up with the next sentence is going to. So in your bars, that next sentence, he would do that. And then the middle of it would also rhyme.
Yeah.
So his internal rhyme. So to come up with that level, and then he was using multi-syllabic words, multi-syllables. He was using all this stuff. Lyrics packed with clever word choices and metaphors rather than the improv style that was kind of the old school style. Credited with the shift from the simplistic old school way into this newer.
Yeah.
He was so intricate with his flow. Paid in Full, which is a brilliant record with Eric B, was named the greatest hip hop record of all time in 2006 by MTV.
Wow. And I don't even think Paid in Full is massive.
He's not even his best.
I don't think he had quite gotten there until Follow the Leader.
Oh, that's such a great track.
And I want to go back to that thing you were talking about.
There's track listings on this.
What you were just talking about. Let's put it like this. You know how, let's say in sports like basketball, until somebody does something like, hit from the 3-point line or outside the line, or somebody does something that no one had seen done before, didn't know it was possible. So when somebody comes along and goes beyond that line, it changes the DNA. It changes the genetic code of that art form. And then people realize they can do that. So like you were talking about that more simplistic kind of archaic form of rapping, which was really, the same amount of syllables in a bar. Everybody rapped that way.
Yeah.
More simplistic rhymes that were very obvious. So for me, Rakim isn't even my all-time favorite rap voice in the sense that I love so many other artists and have affinities for them, but nobody changed the game like him. Nobody just turned it on its ear, made people realize they could do things that hadn't been done before.
You're getting a little Scott Rock love on there.
The idea of the technical ability of a rapper. And so like when you talked about the flow, so the rest of the 90s was about rappers trying to find the next level of what you can do with your mouth and your tongue and your vocal cords.
They were trying to figure out how to be Rakim. That's what they were trying to do.
Basically. And so
I mean, this record, Follow the Leader, Microphone Fiend, Just a Beat, Put Your Hands Together, the R. I mean, come on, man. He was a visionary, and I just don't think he gets. I think he gets overshadowed by guys that can't even don't even deserve to wear his chains, man.
Well, nowadays, like you might agree, like Nas is exalted as like one of the greatest rappers of all time, and I respect him.
Yeah, I dig a lot of his stuff.
I actually find some of his stuff to be a little bit on the boring side.
Well, with like Jay-Z, like I'm like, oh, okay, it's all right. Like, but
yeah, some people think that Jay-Z changed the game with his rap style and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I dig it, but it's never going to be what this was. Even when you first heard "Follow the Leader" off of this, the bass line kicks in.
Well, you're talking about jazz too, and Juice. The bass line for that and the way that's composed is almost jazz-esque.
Yeah. Know the
and
ledge.
You're like, know the ledge, right? And you're just like, even the two that are, when you take the three that are probably the most exalted and looked at as the greatest, Eminem, Biggie, and Pac. I just don't believe that any of the three, and I love a lot of the stuff that Tupac and Biggie
doing their thing.
10 Crack Commandments is an all-timer.
Yeah.
But they
were doing their thing. They were great artists.
It's not Rakim. Rakim for me is not only is he the greatest, he is my favorite. He is.
That's dope, dude.
Absolutely from the second that I can remember Jason Keffer having, Paid in Full, on the stereo, and I'm just like, this is next level shit. I just love it.
Yeah, when I hear Follow the Leader, like it really takes me back to whatever that was, 87, 88, something like that. It was just so intense, man. I had kind of left the old school hip hop to get into metal a bit, but I still liked certain stuff. I was hearing Public Enemy and stuff as it was coming along, but that R&B at that time was just, it was just like,
and again, he's showing you the dark side.
Oh yeah,
one of his biggest hits, he gets capped at the end. And he's telling you, he's showing you, this is a day in the life, and that's how it ends. And that's part of the thing.
That's another thing we didn't mention is he was really one of the first to really be telling a story. Slick Rick was kind of doing that, of course. Yeah. But most everybody else, it was a concept. It was an idea being told, but he really put it into a storyline.
And if Slick Rick hadn't gone to prison and maybe had more records, maybe he would have made it.
He was pretty cool, but his style was a little.
I did dig him.
He was great, but his vocal sound a little bit more on the kind of silly.
It was definitely had some odd.
Dude. Well, you were surprised that I picked that for my number one.
Super surprised,
but I wasn't surprised that you picked it for your number one because I figured Did
you think that's where I was going?
Well, I figured you would at least qualify it as the game changer.
As I was going through the list, you were kind of like, like once I got to 3, you were like, it's gotta be, right?
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to ignore Rakim, dude.
No, dude, he's, as far as I'm concerned, it's the R, the 18th letter.
And when you threw out the topic, let's do our top MCs, Rakim's the first one. When you think of
that's how
the greatest of all time.
I knew that was number one.
If Michael Jordan's the GOAT of basketball, Rakim's the GOAT.
I knew that it was going to be Rakim, Chuck D, Ice, and Cube, and then I'd figure out the rest.
Yeah.
And then I kind of really knew that Kool Moe Dee and Big Daddy Kane would be in there.
Yeah.
So to keep on topic, my 5 or 6 or 7 things are all hip hop things, I think. If you like extreme gangster rap, and you like West Coast stuff, and you in and around Sacramento, give Brother Lynch Hung a call.
You like that?
I can't even try to explain what this is like. It is on a whole nother level. Beats are amazing. The stuff he talks about is absolutely crazy, and I love it. I don't know. New York had some fun stuff coming out. Young Black Teenagers were one, and Fooshnickens.
Yeah, I knew that was Fooshnickens.
Yeah. Right? Who didn't love the Foo? I loved these guys.
They were cool. Kind of Onyx and we were talking about them before. God damn it.
Lost it. Yeah.
The ones that did diggity wiggity. DOS Effects.
Yeah.
DOS Effects. Sorry. My brain's a sieve.
FX. One of the newer guys I'm really into, and I don't think it's enough credit. I think he's from South Florida. Denzel Curry.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything about him until I watched Like a Version, and he does Bulls on Parade, right. And it blew me away. And then he puts a verse from his own rhyme into towards the end of the song, and I went out and bought a Denzel Curry record the next day. Now I have all 3 of his records. They're amazing. Oh, Heartfelt Love, Shock G.
Yeah.
It's a great record.
Man.
Another one of those records that you couldn't really categorize them. No. They were just so much more
just so in their own sphere, man. Really creative.
I Am a Man, who's probably not much of a man. I'm probably just a little kid trapped in a big man's body. And as a little kid, what I thought was hilarious was talking about chicks and having sex and doing crazy shit. And and it used to be Luke Skywalker and the Two Live Crew until they got sued. And then it's just the Two Live Crew.
Yeah.
And they always sported Miami Hurricanes gear. And I love all things Miami. So
Uncle Luke.
One of I talk about a guy who doesn't get enough respect. Without him taking on the government and the free speech stuff, where would we be today?
Yeah.
So give them a shout. Once again, I can't take somebody away from a group, but you got to give some props to one of the most legendary, one of the greatest to ever put on fedoras and rock Adidas. Run DMC.
Yeah, man.
One of the greatest just records, not even hip hop records. One of the greatest records.
That record is a pop phenomenon. That record was huge in 1986.
Peter Piper, It's Tricky.
I was 12, you were 13 or 14. Yeah. It was huge. Dude.
Raising Hell, Dumb Girl.
Yeah, it was single after
You Be
single.
Illin'. Love it.
Dude, you would just bump that over and over and over again. Like we talked about earlier, Ecstasy from Houdini and UTFO and LL Cool J, but those guys were also just the biggest stars. We just thought they were the coolest.
This is not a hip hop group, but they were one of my favorite collectives ever to be assembled. Whatever iteration you could find, and a lot of hip hop groups take samples from these guys at will. George Clinton is an absolute all-time legend. Parliament Funkadelic. If you like music and you like having fun and you love great musicianship and you like an over-the-top crazy style, and you're not listening to Parliament, are you even really living?
I don't think so. The answer
And
would be no.
as cool as this dude is,
Yeah.
look at Bootsy.
This is a good
Bootsy on
tie-in.
the back.
I don't want to get off on a huge tangent, but that's a good tie-in because especially a lot of the rap hip-hop that you like, the West Coast style, some refer to as G-Funk, West Coast funk style. We know Gap Band was a huge influence
Gap
on that.
Band, love him. Yeah, SOS Band.
Yeah, but Parliament.
Yeah, you couldn't have one without the other.
Do you remember that record that Ice Cube put together in around 96, 97? That was a collaboration with George Clinton. And
Yes.
he redid Flashlight and Atomic Dog and reworked some of his own stuff, and it all had
even Snoop's first record with his only good record has a lot of P-Funk.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I listen to Funkadelic and Parliament all the time.
Love them so much.
I play them in my music room all the time. I spin lots of funky records, and that shit's always got to be in there.
This is a great collection, too, because it's like 74 to 80. So it's got like P-Funk, Get Up for the Downstroke, Bop Gun, Dr. Funkenstein's Super Groovalistic, Mothership Connection, Dr. Funkenstein, Aqua Boogie. Oh my God, everything's on here.
Yeah.
Give Up the Funk, Chocolate City.
We used to listen to this at work all the time.
Flashlight, Ride On. Rump of Steel Skin. Come on, the dude was a visionary. The guy's a legend. I have his autograph from when he came up here and played. My buddy scored me a poster, and his backstage pass or whatever, because he was doing something, has his autograph on it. Nice. So I have to get it framed and add it to my framed ticket posters upstairs.
I don't really have a good excuse, but I missed every time that he came to our area, which was a number of times.
I've seen him one time, and it's definitely not enough.
I did meet Bernie Worrell once at the gas station. He was doing a little small gig with somebody else in Eureka, and I didn't go to the show, but because I had a Funkadelic bumper sticker, his road manager guy stopped me and said, "Do you know who just walked in there?" And I had just walked past Bernie Worrell. He was the synthesizer player for Parliament.
Avoid some stuff because I'm so I'm kind of just sad that I missed the golden era of you just can't see them in that type of it's like if Earth, Wind and Fire came here, I probably wouldn't go see them. Yeah, because I want to see Earth, Wind and Fire from 76.
Essentially, that's what I tend to do. And then every once in a while somebody will go, it was actually incredible.
Yeah, missing out. But
I didn't go see James Brown, and he died within a month of playing here or something. But I don't know if you in 96, 97.
Yeah,
97.
I was still gone.
So we had this short-lived club that was owned by Aaron, who is known as El Jefe from NoFX.
The club was still around when I came back in 99.
Okay, yeah. So they managed to bring Run DMC.
Yeah, you told that story.
And it was before Jam Master Jay passed away.
I'm still jealous when you tell that story.
I think I've talked to a lot of friends who were at that same show. We all felt the same thing, was that even though they were, beyond their prime, they didn't have any great records out anymore. They still just sounded like those records.
Did they play the old stuff though?
Nothing but. Except for maybe throwing in the Return of the King or something like that.
Man, hear them play the fucking smashes though.
They played them all. God. And I was standing on the DMC side of the stage. He was mostly on the left-hand side of the stage. And I'm just looking up at DMC from Run DMC, and it's
he was always my favorite.
And they had the hats and the Adidas on. They were
with no laces.
Yeah, I mean they were doing their retro thing. They were giving you their greatest hits. And
did they do Christmas in Hollis?
I don't remember if they did Christmas in Hollis.
That's one of my only. That's one of the only Christmas songs I love.
That's a good Christmas tune. They could have. I don't remember that. I don't remember what time of year it was.
Right.
feel
It's
like it was late summer.
June, and you're gonna bust out with a Christmas song,
Hey,
and nobody would have cared.
It's in our retrospective.
People would have been singing every freaking line.
But it was I mean, it wasn't like seeing some band, 30 years after their prime or something. They still could bring that energy.
There are certain bands, there are certain groups that, like, look, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's a fucking joke. Let's not mince words. It's a joke. I don't know why people put so much emphasis in it. I couldn't give a shit less.
Yeah.
And people want to get all in their feelings about it. It's fake. It's a fake group of people that decide who gets in and who gets stupid.
Yeah.
Madonna's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah.
But there are certain hip hop groups that get a lot of shit for being in, and some of them I don't understand why. NWA is pretty friggin' metal, and Run DMC absolutely belong.
Well, first of all, they might as well just make it like the Music Hall of Fame or the Popular Music
Maybe
Hall
they'll
of
get
Fame
some metal
like
groups
that.
in and start putting their heads so far.
I think they call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because rock and roll,
wide general term for.
Yeah, and it kind of was the beginning of modern popular music. There was popular music before that, but I don't know. Yeah, to me, there's no reason a hip hop artist or a blues artist or an R&B artist or jazz artist, if they're in the popular lexicon, I don't see any reason they should not be voted in. But when you see
in,
but I think the issue is when you see some artists get in and you're going, what about this artist that had been around a long time, had a major impact? Why are we waiting to see if they'll make it in? And so gets in who doesn't really maybe have the history behind them to qualify them at this point in time for deserving that slot over somebody else. But again,
yeah,
it's an
and
award
who comes up with the way that they've only
ceremony.
got like 5 or 6 people a year? Who, like, come on, man.
Just put them on. Just induct everybody that's had.
At this point, most of the people that you're inducting, half of them are dead anyway.
See, basically what they're doing is just to get people to watch the freaking show and sell commercial space and shit.
But Jay-Z is in, but is Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 in? Where would Jay-Z be without them? And so again, we're going back to who came, who set the.
I think Jay-Z is that historically significant at this point in time.
Any point in time.
Yeah, I went to that museum in Seattle, it used to be called the Hendrix Experience Museum or the Experience Museum. Now it's just Pop Culture Museum. They had a glass display with Grandmaster Flash's original Technics 1200 decks and mixer in there, and then a glass box with one of his white leather fringed studded outfits that he wore back in the day. I thought that was pretty cool to see in person.
I wonder if he ever goes back and is like, oh, it's good to see the old setup.
He can go visit it every once in a while.
On that note, we have to go and figure out what next week's episode's going to be. So let's just add a. There's so much of this stuff that it's like, how the hell can you talk for 2 hours about hip hop? How the hell can we only talk for 2 hours? But like, we could go on and on.
Well, we could go on and on, partly because we just entertain ourselves.
Yeah, but there's real love for this stuff, and we hope that there's love for it for you, and maybe if there's a little bit of love, maybe we'll turn you on to some stuff that you'll really get into. Then you'll hit the like and you'll subscribe, and we'll get our numbers up, and let's get all that stuff. We appreciate all that you do, and
we may not have that many viewers yet. Don't know if we ever will. We're just geeks. We just hope somebody enjoys hanging out with us and hearing us gab about this stuff. But I did want to say, we welcome any comments. If you watch this and you got anything you want to add to it, and go, you idiots, you forgot this.
I want to hear other people's lists. I want to know what you guys think. I want to know what you and your friends are talking about when these topics come up. We can't be the only ones.
Yeah, please drop that in the comment section.
And get our numbers up so I can get on some of these other YouTube channels I see with all these guys talking about music, because some of them don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And I need to go on there and school some people.
Yeah.
See a Tranquility. Fucking talking to you. You need to get me on. You need to get some West Coast flavor on that fucking show. You need to educate some of you
Tranquility,
people.
that's Homeboy. Can't think of his name right now.
I can't either.
I watched
I
a lot
dig
of
him
his
though.
show.
I love that show.
Yeah, he's sitting there with
guys.
his collection of CDs.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want that
Yeah.
friggin' thing. So I love that show. I dig
He's
it a
a
lot.
geek. He's a music nerd,
he's
and
one
he
of
gets
us.
lots of views.
We want to be that level someday.
Yeah, we could do a split screen thing with that.
Sure, dude. Right? He's got. I don't know how they do it. I gotta figure it out. Right? He needs to be my guru.
Come on.
Yeah, come on, man. Put me on that show. Talking about, man, some of the shit they talk about, I get pissed. I sit and maybe like, what? Especially the one dude that you're like this dude. He doesn't want to listen to any fucking Van Halen after David Lee Roth. Like, you're missing a lot of good shit, man.
I am like that.
All right, until next week. Thank you for watching. Fuck Amazon. Long live independent music stores. Long live physical media. Until next week, my friends. Rock on.
Who is the one viewer? Is that